welcome to our Hot GPT Summer 2. We're going to talk about what's new in so far in 2025 in the world of generative AI. Do some introductions here.
So I'm Chris Porter. I am a professor here at Drake in the Department of Math Computer Science. I direct our AI program. And is this from last year? My favorite thing about summer is
That
I'm off with my three boys. I might change that, but we'll see. I guess I shouldn't say.
was my
But, and this,
test to see if you'd notice it.
thanks for the picture. I'm glad I'm dressed in business attire while I'm jet skiing here. Snyder, good one.
So Porter, his other favorite thing about summer is jet skiing in his button-down shirt, obviously. So I am Chris Snyder. So I'm a professor of multimedia in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication here at Drake. So I teach classes on video, audio, social media design, web design. I that's my main area of focus with generative AI too, is what it can do in the multimedia world. I did update my favorite thing about summer to being that Barntown Brewery brings back the real Slim Shandy as my favorite summer beer. And also my Gen AI image here. My other favorite thing is clearly going to outdoor concerts. I have a haircut scheduled for Friday, but I'm thinking maybe not. And also I kept the same shirt, but just got some short sleeves there. So uh all
Pretty good.
right. But enough about us. Tell you about Innovation Profs is our company. So we help people understand generative AI tools through workshops, through keynote presentations, through custom training, through events like this that we are doing here today. We assist companies in implementing generative AI at their company, their organization, but help people kind of think about the right way to bring this into the mix. And we have a twice weekly newsletter of major developments in generative AI with as much of an Iowa focus as we can add to it, that you can sign up for at innovationprofs.com, or there's a couple of opportunities on here we will give you to sign up. And we can't, because we are sliding into summer here, we can't promise this twice weekly is going to be the the summer scenario. We haven't talked about that quite yet, but we'll continue with the newsletter over the summer, at least in once a week format. And we do have an event coming up next week. So May 22nd, we have a generative AI boot camp where we are going to really just kind of take everything that we know about generative AI and what you need to be successful with generative AI at a company and present it in a one-day boot camp style event. So whether you've been to one of our workshops before, if you've been to one, this will be pretty much all new stuff. If you've not been and you're new to generative AI, this is a great chance to get yourself up to speed all in one day. And the early bird rate still goes through 5 p.m. tomorrow, and we added a code GPT Summer to save an extra $50 off that early bird rate. So if you are interested in this, your best deal possible is going to come if you sign up by 5 p.m. tomorrow. All right, so we're going to kick this off with some new developments in the world of generative AI, right? So the school year is coming to a close for us. Summer vacation is coming, although Porter and I just start teaching summer classes on Monday, so we try to make it out like we have class. You don't have one Monday?
No, I'm just shaking my head in shame.
Yeah. But as some of our colleagues get ready for their summer vacation, at least, we're going to look back at some of the significant developments in generative AI over, roughly the past five months here. So Porter will take it over to start us out.
All right, let's get going. Okay, so the first trend in 2025 is that the LLM race continues. And we've seen a lot of new large language models released in the first half of 2025, and that's certainly not going to let up anytime soon. So all the big players in the LLM space have put out new models, so I'll kind of highlight those. And then there's some new players that have arrived on the scene as well. So first, the open AI models worth mentioning. So if you all are mostly your ChatGPT users, we find that to be still the most common that tool that people are using. They kicked off January with the launch of O3 Mini. So O3 is the successor to O1. O2 is the name of a British telecommunications company, and so OpenAI decided to skip that one. And they have these reasoning models that they put out in 2024, and they have large versions and kind of full versions and lightweight versions. And so O3 Mini was a lightweight version of a model O3 that they began to question around, early spring whether or not they would even release that. Okay, so you'll see in a second that they did. Then in February, they released another model, GPT 4.5, but it's still listed as a research preview only. But
Sure,
this is
bud.
to be the state of the art for them in terms of what we might call a foundation model. But then the numbering went backwards. And again, I feel like this is just super confusing. OpenAI doesn't do anybody any favors by how they number these things. They released GPT 4.1, which was an improvement on all the models available, but it's only available through the API, which means you have to be a developer and you have to create an API key, and then you have to integrate that into some code that you're writing and formatting all the prompts in a way that is very different than how it looks when you use the interface. And then also a lightweight version of that, and a lightweight version. It should be GPT 4.1 Nano, that was released in April. And then just a couple of days later, they put out O3, again, a model they claimed would not be coming out. They changed their mind. They were basically planning to put out when GPT-5 and pack into it all of the reasoning features and that they had been putting into other models, but then they decided, no, we're going to actually put out O3 and then lightweight versions of an O4 potentially. And the high here means that these are for like coding intensive tasks. So there's just so many options to choose from, which can be quite dizzying. The performances of all of these get benchmarked and compared, so you can see documentation with OpenAI, which is usable, which isn't, or preferable. Gemini is the same. They have lightweight and large models. They released Gemini 2.0 Flash lightweight model. That's the default model still. So if you go in to use a free Gemini account, you'll use 2.0 Flash. And then for paid users, there's Gemini 2.0 Pro, and now there's a 2.5 Pro experimental, and immediately rose to the top of the chatbot leaderboard upon its release back in late March. Anthropic has its Claude family of models, which are nicely named: the small Haiku, the medium Sonnet, the large Opus. But then they started numbering these, and so they went from 2 to 3 to 3.5. Haiku and Sonnet became 3.5. Opus has not seen the 3.5 version come out, and now Sonnet bumped up to 3.7. So I'm not sure why we only incremented by 0.2 of a point here. But what's cool about this model is it's a balance between a foundation model, like your traditional LLM, and a reasoning model, and users can opt for more or less reasoning. And by reasoning here, I just mean that the model will spend more time calculating or computing the outputs as if it were taking its time to think. And so that's a new feature, which kind of is a hybrid between the two. And then, okay, so something that is a new player in the field, which goes back to the beginning of 2025, or January, the third week. This is DeepSeek is a Chinese LLM or Chinese produced, that was built on top of open source models and is itself not fully open source, but a lot of the structure of the model is available online for you to download and peruse and understand in a way that these other models I've talked about are completely off limits. We don't know how they work under the hood or what they look like. We know how they work. We don't know what the actual specific details of what went into their training and the weights and biases of the networks that they're using. The big thing was DeepSeek's one of the models, R1, was trained at 5%. They claim 5% of the cost of GPT-4, while consuming 1/10 of the power to train or build one of the comparable Llama models, which is put out by Meta. And as a result, a few days later, you see NVIDIA stock dropping. That's a $600 billion drop there. A couple days before that drop, the Trump administration had announced Project Stargate, which was a $500 billion data center infrastructure initiative without any money being put anywhere. So it was all private money. The amount of money lost in NVIDIA in one day was enough to pay for the entire Project Stargate. Okay, quite staggering. And then another development I think is worth putting on our radar is that Grok 3 came out, pitched as the smartest AI on Earth. If you go to the Grok website, this is Elon Musk's xAI, the company that put this out. Grok is your truth-seeking AI companion for unfiltered answers with advanced capabilities in reasoning, coding, and visual processing. So the unfiltered part is something to watch out for, because other models have followed suit because Grok is now supposed to be irreverent, and you can turn on, not safe for work versions of it and have it say terrible, terrible things to you. Those kind of like remove the content moderation safeguards. It looks like OpenAI at least has followed suit by loosening some of the safeguards put into the tools. There's a ChatGPT subreddit where you can find plenty of conversations or images generated with the latest version of ChatGPT that maybe we wouldn't want our kids to be exposed to. So that I think is an unwelcome development, but that is one strand of kind of how things have changed a bit in the field. And here's the latest chatbot leaderboard. Gemini is owning this. So this is a top 10 models. So some of the Gemini 2.5 is up there, O3. So some ChatGPT and Grok, but five of the spots are taken over by Gemini models. I think doesn't have the as large a market share as OpenAI does, but the perception is, and the kind of with the user testing that's going on here, it looks like these are the most powerful models of it currently available. Okay, and then lastly, let me say these new models are unlocking use cases that range from painful to impossible a year ago. So they're more integrated. We've got voice features, video is embedded into them, so you can create images in ChatGPT, video in ChatGPT now if you have a paid account. You can use Google's AI Studio to create videos with VO, their video tool, embedded in all of this. With a free account, images, text, all in one app. So this multimodality is definitely an aspect of all of these new models that are coming out. They're more aware. There's longer context windows, so they can process more of your conversation or larger documents that you feed them, or they can process live information. They're more actionable. They run code. They search the web. They automate research. The fact that some of these are only recently have the ability to search the web, like the Anthropic models, Claude, only got a web search this just in 2025, even though the tool's been out for several years. Okay, so that's the first one. Next big trend is deep research everywhere. So deep research is an aspect of these language model platforms where you can ask the tool to create a research report on a given topic. So you ask it to do deep research, and then it takes sometimes an enormous amount of time searching the web, pulling information. I think I've seen these take 15 minutes, take an hour. I mean, ChatGPT tends to be really fast in how it responds to you. Imagine you're like, oh, come back in an hour. Like, what are you going to do for an hour? So it's processing an enormous amount of information using reasoning models under the hood, and in fact, doing it in a way that you can retrace the steps of like what it's doing as it's processing all this information. But then it will produce a report that has citations, often clickable links, that sort of thing. Just last week, I believe, ChatGPT created or introduced a feature that you can export the report as a PDF, but all the hyperlinks are still embedded in there. And so, okay, deep research is cropping up all over the place. And so there's the phenomenon I want to point out is that everyone's copying everyone now. They're not even being clever about how they're naming it. Everyone's just using deep research as the name. So Gemini started this trend actually in December of 2024 with Gemini Deep Research. And so they're, powered by 2.0 Flash thinking, so one of their reasoning models. And so you can see save hours of work with deep research as your personal research assistant now with audio overviews. Okay, this is new because they have a Notebook LM as a way to create podcasts from text. So now Google's like, let's use kind of the Notebook LM style features to add that on top of things. But this is really kind of going back 6 months now. Google's the first to do deep research. And OpenAI a month later, or month and a half later, is like, oh yeah, we got deep research too. And so here's the release from February that they put out their thing: an agent that uses reasoning to synthesize large amounts of online information, complete multi-step research tasks for you. For OpenAI, they embedded this as part of their kind of push towards agentic AI, and then they also have released or announced Operator, which uses your computer to do different tasks. But right now, unless you pay for ChatGPT Pro, which is like $250 a month, you don't have access to Operator. Okay, Copilot's like, well, we have our own deep research tool, so we'll use researcher and analyst. So they use a different name. But the funny thing is, because Microsoft owns 49% of OpenAI, you're really just using OpenAI deep research and their reasoning models. Now it's the same tool with a different name rather than a different tool with the same name, like in first two cases. Okay, so Copilot enters the discussion here, and Claude's like, "Oh, okay, well, us too." And so in April, mid-April, right? So not too long ago, Claude takes research to new places, and so they also have introduced their tool. So this, I take it is a very significant trend when we look back on this year. This will be the year where if agentic AI is the theme of 2025, it's really these deep research agents that have taken the stage the most. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done to compare and contrast these and see their relative strengths and weaknesses, and see how effective will they be in doing the kinds of reporting where maybe we don't want to be. I mean, Snyder had a report written on what sound system at home would be the most effective for him. I think he would not write that research report himself, but found that information to be really useful in making a decision. So finding good use cases that don't just eliminate the valuable work of doing research, but maybe giving us research in pockets where we might have not thought to do it otherwise. Okay, and then the last one I'll have are some new legal developments in 2025. Okay, so a couple of these, I think these are super interesting. There was a ruling that came out from the US Copyright Office in January that purely AI generated art can't get copyright protection. So we got really some clarity on the status of AI images. Who owns an AI image when we create an AI image? Is that something that can be granted copyright protections? There were precedents before. Someone created a graphic novel a few years ago where all the images were AI generated, but the story and the configuration of the images were not. And the uh, images were not given copyright protection, but the arrangement of the images were, and the story that was as well. But now we get something very clear about this because there were some artists who even claimed, I spent 100 hours creating this image. I wrote and rewrote 700 prompts to create this image. This reflects my own work. And here's the money quote from the decision. No matter how many times a prompt is revised and resubmitted, the final output reflects the user's acceptance of the AI system's interpretation rather than authorship of the expression it contains. So this is a statement about prompting being, in terms of authorship, a secondary role, right? And no matter how many times you write a prompt and then click the button and see a new image come up, you're always at the mercy of the AI to say, oh, here's the image. And you go, oh, yeah, that's good. I'll take it. So because it's a passive type of production, copyright protection is not extended here. However, you might think, okay, so that means prompting will never create something with copyrighted you know, that has a copyright protection. And yet here we go. This is just the next month. This is the first ever AI image to be granted copyright protection. You're like, well, what gives here? So this was created with a tool called Invoke, and it was created by the CEO of Invoke. And the story is that the image was submitted to the Copyright Office, told it was AI generated. The protection was not given to it. And then, and maybe this was a little bit of a marketing ploy, a 15-minute YouTube video was submitted showing the production of this. And in that video, you see that the person making this image was highlighting certain areas and then prompting very, very specifically about the color of the iris of that eye in the forehead, or the cheese on the spaghetti hair, and showing different marks that the artist was using, and then using prompts to fill that in a way that had much more of a human engagement involvement. That level of passivity that we saw before was gone. That was enough for the Copyright Office to say there's a protection here. Okay, so on the side of granting AI copyrights, we've got some progress here. On the question of, is it a violation of copyrights to train models, we got some, well, the story continues this month. Just last Friday, this report came out. This is a long report, Copyright and Artificial Intelligence. The long and the short is this questions whether using copyrighted materials to train AI models is sufficiently transformative and constitutes fair use. And this is skeptical of that. So here's a headline from last week. The US Copyright Office has thoughts on how AI is trained. Big tech may not like it. And here's the chaser, which happened a day later. Trump reportedly fires head of US Copyright Office after release of AI report. The day after this report came out, Shira Perlmutter, the head of the US Copyright Office, was fired. Okay, the line isn't anything more than the day before and day after. And there's no statement of like, we're firing her because of this report. But I think the inference is not unreasonable to make. This is not a AI-friendly ruling that copyrights have been violated in the use of in the production of AI tools. And so this is now the state of where we're at. I don't know what the aftermath will be. You'll have to wait till our next holiday AI thing in December when we like see what happens 6 months later.
I'll mention Bo on stuff Porter talked about there. Like if you've not tried O3, and I guess if you're a free chat GPT user, you maybe have O3 Mini available to you. But if you pay for it and have O3, and I mean, ask it a significant question, I mean, it can put information together in ways that is pretty amazing. I get a ton of value out of O3, including using it to check some of the stuff I'm going to present here today to see what did I miss, right? What big advancements did I miss so far in 2025? It did a good job of finding some things that I maybe originally didn't have in here. So I'm going to start with some improvements on the image side of things. So again, I tend to follow more the multimedia side of what's going on in generative AI, and so we had a huge update on March 25th when OpenAI launched its 4.0 image model. So released on March 25th, and note that date. But this could create high quality images with great attention to detail, including text. So here's an early test we did of it. So I'm going to read this prompt because I want you to, as I read this prompt, see that it gets everything right in this. And if you've ever made generative AI images prior to this, getting everything right, good luck. You might get one or two things right. They say this went from AI image uh, as as being a toy to becoming a tool. But I asked here for uh, create an image of a 40-year-old male college professor stands in front of a whiteboard in a large auditorium. The man has short brown hair and a short brown beard. He is wearing a brown sports jacket over a blue button-up shirt with no tie. The whiteboard has the words, "Welcome to Gen AI class. Today we will be learning about AI image tools." Then it includes a list of some AI image tools that you should create, right? So I asked it to find some stuff too. I didn't tell it Dolly Midjourney, right? It found those on its own. There is a desk with a laptop computer and a blue water bottle on one side, and we see a couple students entering the class. One student is wearing a blue t-shirt that says Drake University on it. Make the image square, right? So it did everything. The only thing that we don't really see is when I said a large auditorium, we don't get a sense of that necessarily, but that attention to detail we just had never really seen before. And this led to a trend that maybe some of you guys saw, the AI action figure trend, where everybody took a photo of themselves, or maybe ChatGPT already knew what you looked like because it's seen a photo of you and asked it to create an action figure based on things it knew about you, or telling it what to put in it more specifically. But here is Porter and my action figure. Porter's action figure comes with real live hair, I think it looks like there. Okay, the other thing we can do here again, because it can do text well, is we can start to create in the world of design and graphics. So here I said, create an image, an infographic with facts about summer in Iowa. And you see here again these reasoning models. So it thought for a minute and 5 seconds. So it thought through, it did some research about what are these important facts to share about Iowa, and then it put it together into a graphic that it built. And it looks like it's pretty good. The only thing is under the outdoors, these 63 state parks and C rec areas, maybe C rec areas means something that I'm not aware of. And you see that it looked like at the bottom it was starting to add some sources, but then just stopped and didn't add those there. And also has this little CR, this content credential of where this is made, which will come up here a little bit later too. So the other two big players in this field that I follow closely are Ideogram and Midjourney. And so OpenAI's announcement came on March 25th. And so Ideogram pushed an update the following day. So they released 3.0, right? Maybe they were planning for March 26th, or maybe they pushed it up. Probably more likely they pushed it up. On March 26th, a day later, which they said included stunning realism, creative designs, and consistent styles all in one powerful model. And here's examples of images that they shared that were made from this updated version of Ideogram. So Ideogram I find to be a really great tool for getting really exactly what I want in the size and shape that I want it to be in. It's also really good at text. So it was the first one to really do text well, although it would continue to get it wrong in some places. So their update said it included text and layout generation capabilities for graphic design, advertising, marketing, and other professional use cases. So you see here, you can give it a prompt of a poster you want, or just lots of details for some sort of a graphic design element you want. I mean, this is something again that a year ago we would kind of laugh at the kind of designs that we would get when we would put a prompt for marketing material and something like this, and now that's changed quite a bit as we've seen those huge improvements. So Midjourney then, so they released their version 7 on April 3rd. So again, pretty close to that original one, with, and this is their word, slightly improved image quality, prompt accuracy, hand accuracy, and body coherence, right? So they needed an update there so people didn't say, I'm done with Midjourney because I can get so much great stuff from ChatGPT now. The thing that was really interesting about Midjourney was that users must train it on their preferences before using. So before you can use it, you have to have done a certain amount of rankings where it gives you two images and you just select the one that you like better. So it learns what styles you like and it's able to create images that are going to appeal to you more based on the prompts that you create, which I think is really probably useful for them because fewer images that are just not used because they don't fit the style that the person likes. So I really like that they, before you can unleash version 7, you have to train it on what you like. It also included this Omni reference. So this was something that we struggled with in our generative AI class we taught this semester. Porter and I, we'll talk about that here at the end, was using a reference image and getting something decent out of it. But Midjourney's new version 7 has Omni reference, which they call basically put this image in my image. So here I uploaded a photo of me into the Omni reference and said, make me the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And we see that it makes me the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, although we still got some text issues there with Cowboys not being spelled correctly. But it also has a tool to fix that, right? So other features are draft mode will create images faster. So just a matter of seconds, you get your images, then you pick the one you want, and it will, upscale that one. Conversation mode lets you iterate over text or voice. So you've got an image, but something's wrong, you want to change. You can continue to have that iteration over it, which isn't something Midjourney had before, but it's something that OpenAI and ChatGPT has had. And then the new editor seen here that makes it simpler to edit and retexture images, whether they are images made using Midjourney or your own images that you upload. But here you can see I selected where it had Cowboys spelled wrong, and I fixed it to be spelled correctly instead. So image improvements have really taken a big step in the first 5 months of 2025. Another trend that I've noticed is just AI wearables. So the ability to have AI with us at all times. So when AI first launched, when we first started talking about generative AI a couple years ago, there were a couple tools right away that were wearable AI things that were sort of failures, but we've made some improvements there. So the hottest new AI accessory really is these Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which you can get as sunglasses or just regular reading glasses. I've noticed a lot of my students in my January class used Meta Ray-Ban glasses as their client for some of the work we were doing. So I saw there was some really interest there, and we've really seen it grow since then. But they glasses that have AI built into them, right? So you can chat with Meta AI through your glasses to get real-time suggestions, answers, and reminders. You can ask your AI glasses for recipes while at the store or ask it where you parked your car, and it remembers these things. It does live translations in English, French, Spanish, or Italian. So talking to someone on the street wearing your glasses does that. And you can buy these for as little as $300, and you can even use your eye insurance if you buy the prescription models to get them as well to lower the cost for you. So we're seeing a lot with glasses. The another wearable that I tried out is the Bee Pioneer. I'm not wearing it right now. Don't have it on. But it's a $50 AI wearable device that will listen as you go about your day and use the information it collects to build a personalized knowledge base about your life. So it remembers things that you did during the day. It creates to-do lists based on what it hears. So it tells you things that you need to potentially do. And you can even search through past conversations to find information, right? So it's this AI companion that's with you at all times, and $50 is a pretty cheap price to enter into this world just to kind of see what it does and what it can do, and more importantly, what's it going to do a year from now will be what's interesting. There are more players in this world. So there's a couple close competitors of the Bee Pioneer. So one is the Claude AI Note Pen that's $150, and again, very similar to The B, and then Limitless's AI pendant that clips on your shirt is $200, but they do, pretty much similar things there. And then in the glasses world, so people have been trying to put stuff on our face for quite some time here, but Snap has their glasses that are not available to the public yet, but they're available for developers to try. You can see the image of them on the right. I'm not sure that I want to wear that all the time. And even ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, announced recently it's working on some AI glasses. So we're going to see a lot more. Can we get away from the phone and have another AI device that kind of frees us from holding that phone with us at all times? Another big trend we've seen in our world here is vibe coding. So vibe coding emerged in really, it's been a thing, but it got the name vibe coding in February of this year. So vibe coding is an AI dependent programming technique where a person describes what they want created or a problem they want solved in a few sentences as a prompt to a large language model that's tuned for writing code. So the LLM generates software, right? Writes the code, creates a program you want, makes the software, shifting a programmer's role from manually coding to guiding, testing, refining the AI generated source code, right? So this allows any of us to suddenly be coders. If something doesn't work that we make, we just say, well, this doesn't work, and then it tries to fix it for us, right? So the the main tool people talk about in this world is Cursor. So Cursor is an app you download on your computer to write code using natural language. So again, you can just prompt what you want and it will write the code there and ask you questions about it as you go. And a lot of people, to make this truly, what they call vibe coding, they use Whisper Flow or similar tools where you just have to speak into it. You don't have to type anything, you just speak what you want and it translates, it types out what you say. And therefore, you're creating games and apps without ever actually having to even type anything. So in our class, we had a lot of fun with vibe coding in our Gen AI class, and really clearly a favorite tool emerged, and it wasn't Cursor, but it was Lovable. So lovable.dev. Highly recommend you try this out. You can do some stuff for free on there. I think none of our students paid for it, so they were making things using free versions, but it's an AI powered platform that lets users create web applications without requiring coding experience. You just again describe your app idea in natural language. Its AI interprets your input and generates a functional application with an intuitive user interface to use it. So here's a couple student projects built using this. So the one on the left was really the first time that we had someone able to get audio that plays through these tools. And she said that she, told it wanted to install some software to do the audio. And she said, can you find another way to do this? And it found another way to do it. But it's a game, an app that helps people with kids with speech problems learn to speak more clearly. And then the one on the right was made, well, actually, one of contest we had in our class was made by a couple of design students who, again, no coding experience for either of these, any of the three students involved in these two things. But the one on the right was some design students that created this game where it shows you a color, and then you have to try to recall that color from the six that it shows you afterward. And it gets progressively harder as you go on to the higher levels of the class. We see the little button down in both of those, edit with Lovable, so you can even jump into something someone else made and try to remix it and make things from it. So Lovable was a clear winner in that world. But here are some other tools that do this. So more options to try to, again, just make websites or create games that do something. So Claude artifacts is something we've used for quite a while, right? So we've been doing this before it was even called vibe coding, but Claude has artifacts. ChatGPT has Canvas. Gemini also has Canvas, right? So back to this idea that they're calling things by the same names. Google has released something recently called Firebase Studio that's built for doing this specific thing. Canva, if you're a Canva user, just released its AI code generator. So you can build some games inside of Canva, and then Bolt and Replit or Replit, I'm not sure how to say it, but that's another one that's similar to Lovable that does it all online. So lots of options there for doing some vibe coding. And then my last topic here will be updates in the world of audio and video. So one thing we saw was that generative AI avatars really got a lot more lifelike this year. And so there's some different places that have done this, but the one that stood out to me is Hey Gen and their new Avatar 4. So you can so if you've been to something we've done before, you've heard me talk about D-ID. I've completely switched from D-ID to Hey Gen for most things that I do. But previously, you could train it on video of you speaking, things like that. Now you just give it a photo and a script and it will work from there. And so we'll find out here in a second if my audio is being shared. But I took myself as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback and gave it a little script to read, and we'll see if this plays for you guys. I'm honored to be named the new starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. This has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid, and I won't let you down. So we just see a lot more movement in the face that's more realistic. If you've got hands and arms there, you'll see some movement there, but really just starting to be a lot more realistic. There's some creators on TikTok that are using Hey Gen, and really it's indistinguishable from when it's really them and when it's their avatar that's doing it. Some more updates in the audio video world. Runway which is a video company, generative AI video company, launched their Generation 4 video. It's first model that keeps characters, lighting, and camera movement consistent across shots. OpenAI Sora, which is, the OpenAI's video tool, dropped its credit limits to become unlimited if you're a Plus subscriber. So Plus subscribers used to be limited, but now you can get unlimited videos there. And we'll expect the same way we saw these improvements in the photo models that the video models will follow. And then Suno in the audio song creating world launched for their Pro and Premiere users better vocals, smarter genre mashups, and a prompt enhancement helper to make your music that you make with it even better, right? So we're seeing these companies continue to improve. Some things to watch in this area is faster rendering from some of these new models, right? It's taken a long time to get some of our videos, so we're getting faster with some of those. We're getting a lot more fine-tuning controls, both on the input side and the after we get the output on the editing side of these things. And then more focus on trust and authenticity. So Google DeepMind's invisible tamper-resistant watermark can now be put into video, text, and music. And then these voice cloning tools are starting to require rights verifications before you can use them. I know when I trained Hey Gen on my voice, I had to go to my camera on my computer and prove that it was really me for them to be willing to do that. So we're seeing them caring a little bit more about some things like trusting that what they're doing with the things we put in, and then authenticating the content that we create. All right, and then I think Porter's going to talk here a little bit about we taught this semester. We just finished up Drake's very first generative AI class. So I can just advance these, Porter, if you want to talk.
Yeah. So we decided to team teach a course, and I don't know if you can count in there, but we ended up 63 students sign up for this class. So this is the largest class that I've ever taught. We uh, just gave all the students exposure to these tools. And so from day one to the last day of class, we went from wearing sweaters to oddly wearing matching shirts on that last day. It was fun. We gave our students lots of time to create, experiment. The last month of class was basically very project driven, and they delivered. So on the very end of class, we asked them to highlight some of their favorite things. And so they put into a slideshow things that they created. We had a rower who created an instructional book on how to row, students with images they were proud of. One student created a really elaborate Catholic themed coloring book. We also had, next slide, one student went through and prototyped, at least kind of visually, details for an extremely elaborate board game, including kind of playable pieces. Another created his own game that you could play as like an RPG, the characters that you would, select. Some of these were done in just, within an hour for the project. Some of these maybe a week of work. We had students make videos. So there was a video of what Drake would look like in 2050, very drone heavy campus, it turns out. We had some football players create a college coach simulator. They used vibe coding that allowed a player potentially interviewing for a scholarship or having a conversation with a coach to kind of like grade how they performed. So you'd have different options to choose from in terms of like how they would answer certain questions. We had students make fake ads for different products. Like we had an edible spoon, and this was a fork that will roast you as you're using it to eat. Order now and get judged in 3 to 5 business days. And then a couple more. One student went through and made an animal encyclopedia with tools for, or with like different languages for one letter of, one animal for every letter of the alphabet. It took her a long time to put this together and was all consistent images throughout. It was really a high point. We had another group create a 2-minute video of a Family Feud episode where you had aliens versus cryptics, and it was really hilarious. And I think maybe there's one more slide after this. Someone created Tinder profiles for historical figures. So here's George, OG Commander in Chief, who set the vibe for the nation. First to say no to a third term because I knew when to go. So, okay, a graphic novel that was very elaborate. Another group made a video of Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, but kind of like real life version of that with a weather report. So we just had an absolute blast getting our students. Oh, sorry, a couple more. Branding workbook by one of our design students, really well done. A very scary movie trailer for a horror film, and a poster that students were able to use for a DIY fest. So the level of creativity was really fun. We loved seeing the computer science students do really well in non-computer sciencey tasks when they were not constrained by coding, but maybe not do so well on the vibe coding because they had the coding in the back of their minds. And then similarly, the design students or the media students doing better on the coding assignments with vibe coding, but maybe less so on the media assignments because they were also bringing more to the table. And so being able to kind of like interface across these, different tools and everything, just it was a blast. So we really had a fun time, and we're really looking forward to hopefully doing that again next year. If you follow our newsletter, over every Tuesday issue, we've had something with in the classroom with the innovation profs. So you can go back through and see what we've done kind of week by week, some of the assignments we've done. We'll definitely do that again spring of 26 if we're able to.
Yeah, and if you want the slides from today, want the video recording, if you want to sign up for a generative AI newsletter, I don't think my social media newsletter is on this particular form, but you can go to the bit.ly/more-gen-AI or use this QR code and give us your email address, and we'll send you the information that you want from there.